Single dad janitor asks Billionaire, "Why is my wife's photo in your office?" The truth stunned everyone. Marco Reyes cleaned floors for a living and had no shame about it. He was 36 years old, broad-shouldered, quiet by nature, and had developed over 11 years of custodial work the particular invisibility that comes not from being overlooked, but from choosing not to demand attention. He moved through spaces the way water moves, finding the path of least resistance, getting the job done, leaving things cleaner than he found them. He worked the evening shift at Nexus Tower, a 40-story glass building in downtown Los Angeles that housed, among other things, the West Coast headquarters of Vantage Group, one of the largest private equity firms in the country, valued at somewhere north of $8 billion. Marco cleaned floors 12 through 20 during the week and the executive suites on 38 through 40 on Fridays. When the partners were usually gone by 6 and the offices sat empty and expensive and quiet, he had a daughter named Sophia, who was 9 years old, and could multiply fractions in her head, and wanted to be an astronaut or a marine biologist depending on what day you asked her. Raised her alone, had been raising her alone for 4 years, since her mother died. Since Isabella died, he didn't talk about Isabella to most people. He carried her the way he carries most important things, quietly, internally, in the particular private space that grief carves out in a person and eventually, if you're patient enough, fills with something that isn't exactly peace but is close enough to function. He thought about her every day. He thought about her on the Friday evening in November, when he pushed his cart out of the elevator onto the 39th floor of Nexus Tower, and turned the corner toward the executive corridor and stopped walking. The photograph was large. That was the first thing. It was framed in brushed steel and mounted on the wall of the main corridor, the kind of prominent placement that said, "This is important. This is intentional. This is meant to be seen." A portrait, professional, the subject lit warmly against a neutral background, a woman in a yellow dress, dark wavy hair. A smile that Marco Reyes would have recognized at the bottom of the ocean in total darkness. He stood in the corridor with his mop in his hand and his orange rubber gloves still on, and looked at his dead wife's face on the wall of a billionaire's office building, and did not move for a very long time. Behind him, heels clicked on the marble floor. "Excuse me." He turned. A woman in a blue dress, blonde, mid-30s, the particular polish of someone who had learned corporate presentation early and practiced it daily, was walking toward him with the expression of someone who needed to get past and expected this to be straightforward. She stopped when she saw his face. "Are you all right?" she asked, not unkindly. Genuinely. Marco looked back at the photograph, then at the woman, then he pointed orange rubber glove and all at the portrait on the wall. "Why is my wife's photo in this building?" he asked. The woman's name was Claire Donovan. She was the executive assistant to Diane Vantage, the founder, sole owner, and CEO of Vantage Group, who was also, as it happened, the person whose name was on the building lease, the firm's letterhead, and the portrait currently hanging in the corridor of the 30th floor. Claire had worked for Diane Vantage for 7 years. She had handled scheduling crises, investor emergencies, media situations, and the particular variety of human complexity that accumulated around powerful people the way weather accumulated around mountains. She was exceptionally good at her job. She had never handled anything quite like this. She looked at the portrait. She looked at the janitor. She looked at the portrait again. "That's," she started. "Isabella," Marco said. "Isabella Reyes, my wife. She died 4 years ago." His voice was steady. He had learned to say it steadily. "Why is her photograph on this wall?" Claire looked at him for a long moment. The corridor was silent except for the ambient hum of the building's ventilation system. "Come with me," she said. Diane Vantage was still in her office. She was almost always still in her office at 7 p.m. on a Friday. Her assistant knew this. Her board knew this. The cleaning staff knew this. In a practical sense, they cleaned around her, saved her office for last, worked the rest of the floor while the light under her door remained steady and the sound of typing continued. She was 53 years old, with the kind of face that had been striking at 30 and was considerably more interesting now, the particular quality that comes from a life that has been actually lived, rather than simply managed. She had built Vantage Group from a 2-person advisory practice over 22 years, and had done it with a combination of analytical precision and the willingness to make decisions that frightened her, which she had learned was the only meaningful kind. She had also, for the past 4 years, kept a photograph of a woman named Isabella Reyes on the wall of her executive corridor. Her assistant knocked twice and opened the door. "I'm sorry to interrupt," Claire said. "There's someone who needs to speak with you. It requires your immediate attention." Diane looked up from her screen, registered Claire's expression, controlled but not entirely, which was unusual, registered the man standing behind her in the doorway. Black uniform, orange gloves. The expression of someone who has just encountered something that has rearranged the architecture of a normal evening. "Send him in," she said. Marco sat across from Diane Vantage's desk in a chair that probably cost more than his monthly salary, and held his rubber gloves in his lap because he hadn't known what else to do with them, and looked at the woman who had his wife's photograph on her wall. Diane looked back at him with an expression he couldn't read, not evasive, not guilty, not defensive, something more complex, something that looked around the edges like relief. "Your name," she said. "Marco Reyes." A pause. "Isabella's husband." "Yes." He leaned forward slightly. "How do you know her name? How do you have her photograph?" She worked in a school. She was a third-grade teacher. She didn't have anything to do with," he gestured at the office, the building, the $8 billion world around them. "Any of this." Diane was quiet for a moment. She looked at her desk, then at him. "Mr. Reyes," she said, "what did Isabella tell you about her life before you met?" Marco frowned. "She grew up in San Diego. Her parents died when she was young. She was in foster care from 13. She worked her way through college. We met when she was 24. He paused. "She didn't talk about before much. She said it was a different life." Diane nodded slowly. "It was," she said, "a very different life." She folded her hands on the desk. "Isabella was not an orphan, Mr. Reyes. Her parents didn't die. Her mother died when Isabella was 11. Her father," a pause. "Her father placed her in foster care 2 years later, because he couldn't manage, because he was grieving and overwhelmed, and made a decision he spent the rest of his life trying to undo and never could." Marco stared at her. "Isabella's father," Diane said carefully, "was my business partner for 15 years. Edward Reyes. Your Isabella took his name when she married you, but she was born Isabella Chen. Edward Chen. Edward Chen." She looked at the wall, toward the corridor where the photograph hung. "He died 3 years ago. He left me with one instruction in his will: find his daughter, make sure she was all right." A long pause. "I found her 6 months after he died, and I learned that she had died 4 months before him, that he never knew, that they never—" She stopped. The office was very quiet. Marco sat with everything that had just entered the room and tried to find a place for it. Isabella Chen. Foster care by choice, someone's terrible, grief-wrecked choice. A father looking for her, missing her by months. She never knew, he said. It wasn't a question. "No," Diane said. "He tried to find her for 20 years. He hired people. He searched. She had changed her name legally at 18. She wanted a clean start, I think. She wanted to be someone who had built herself entirely from scratch." Diane's voice was steady, but something underneath it wasn't. "He found a record of the name change 8 months before he died. He was trying to trace it forward when his health declined. He asked me, made me promise to finish it. And you found out she was gone." "Yes, and then you found me." A pause. "Yes, you and Sophia." Marco went very still. "You know about Sophia?" "I know she's 9 years old. I know she wants to be a marine biologist. I know she attends Jefferson Elementary and that her favorite subject is science and that she has her mother's eyes." Diane met his gaze directly. "I've known about you both for 3 years. I didn't know how to." She stopped, composed herself. Edward was not a man who did things halfway. He was also not a man who could forgive himself easily. He left instructions that were specific. He wanted his daughter's family provided for. He left a substantial portion of his estate designated for that purpose. She paused. "I've been holding it, waiting for the right moment to make contact, trying to find a way to do this that didn't feel like an ambush." Marco said quietly. "Yes," she said. "Exactly that." They talked for 2 hours. Claire brought coffee at some point and left quietly. The city outside the floor-to-ceiling windows went fully dark and then glittered with its 10,000 lights, and Marco Reyes sat in the expensive chair and learned the story of his wife's life that she had carried alone, the father who lost her. The years of searching, the inheritance waiting in a trust for a woman who had already been gone. He learned that Edward Chen had built his portion of their firm's fortune on a principle. Isabella would have recognized that people who were overlooked were not invisible, they were simply unseen by those who weren't paying attention. He learned that Diane had placed Isabella's photograph in the corridor not as a record of obligation but as a commitment. Every time she walked past it, she remembered the promise, kept it present, kept it unresolved so she wouldn't allow herself to let it go. At 9 o'clock he stood to leave. The trust, he said. Whatever Edward intended, I need time to think about that. Of course, Diane said. There's no timeline. There's never been a timeline. It waited this long. He nodded, picked up his gloves, moved toward the door. Then stopped. She would have wanted to know him, he said, without turning around. Isabella. She used to say, she said once, that the thing she envied most in other people was continuity, knowing where you came from. A pause. She would have wanted to know. I know, Diane said quietly. He stood in the doorway for a moment. Then, can I bring Sophia to see the photograph sometime? She doesn't have many pictures of her mother. The office was quiet for the length of 3 breaths. Yes, Diane Vantage said, and her voice was not entirely steady. Whenever you'd like. Marco Reyes took the elevator down 39 floors and pushed his cart back to the supply room and finished his shift. He drove home through the Los Angeles night and checked on Sophia asleep, one arm thrown over her head the way she always slept, and stood in her doorway for a long time. Then he went to the kitchen and opened the drawer where he kept the photographs, found the one of Isabella in the yellow dress, the same one he now understood, that someone had enlarged and framed and placed on a wall so it wouldn't be forgotten. He set it on the counter, sat down across from it. You had a father who was looking for you, he said to the photograph. He looked for a long time. The apartment was quiet. Sophia breathed steadily down the hall. I'm going to tell her, he said. When she's ready. I'm going to tell her she comes from someone. That someone spent 20 years trying to find her mother. He paused. She should know that. Every kid should know that somebody was looking. He sat with Isabella for a long time. Then he put the photograph back carefully, turned off the kitchen light and went to bed. He slept better than he had in 4 years. Not because anything was resolved, because something was finally, after a very long time, known. And knowing, even when it hurt, was always better than the alternative, the end.